And welcome everybody into the report card. It's Erik Pessolano and I'm Christian Ilten, bringing you today a very exciting edition of the report card where we will be talking about the All-Star Games. It looks like we need to get our camera centered a little bit, but once we get that taken care of, there's Erik Pessolano. We almost had you disappear, Erik.
What else is new?
Anyway, everybody, we have an exciting show for you today. It is officially time to talk about the All-Star Games coming up here right behind us at 5 Point Arena here at Great Park Ice on February 6th. We're going to be talking about the All-Star Games, but we also have a couple of other things to talk about. Erik, this is a pretty good show.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of content that we got in here for you. We've got a big roundtable coming up that we filmed yesterday with the commissioner and the deputy commissioner. That's going to be a lot of fun. Sit back and enjoy that. We've got some scores to go over, though, because we got to do this fast and furious.
We do, absolutely. So we're actually going to go just to the scorecards and show you exactly what's gone down in the past couple of weeks in the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League. Starting off with Santa Margarita taking on J. Sarah a couple of weeks ago. And as we get it to come up here in just a few moments, click the eye off of us. Here we go. Here it comes up onto the screen. That was just about as painful as possible. But, folks, we had a good game. This was last Wednesday, the 15th. Santa Margarita took on the J. Sarah Lions. It was a 5-3 final. As you can see on your screen, Santa Margarita comes away with the win. None other than Josh Hayden. 4 goals in the game, Erik. He had over a hat trick. He had 4 goals. Meanwhile, Kluckstall had a goal and an assist. Koskela, Zimmerman, Gupta also find themselves on our scorecard. And Brandon Yamasaki only had to make 19 saves to get this win. Meanwhile, for the J. Sarah Lions in the losing effort, Ryan Tabrizi had 2 assists. Kang, Stevens, Lynch were the goal scorers, and Hartmark got an assist as well. Height, for his efforts, got the last 30 out of 35 saves or save opportunities that he made. Meanwhile, right after that game, we also had the Orange Lutheran Lancers take on the Damien Spartans. Orange Lutheran came away with the win in that game. Jackson Ferry, who else? The star of the game for the Lancers. A goal and an assist. Meanwhile, Hurst Garcia also get goals. Claire Gontus getting on the board with an assist, as well as Owen Augustine. Meanwhile, Zach Martinez, 15 of 17 in the win. And for the Damien Spartans, it was Liam Culligan who had a goal. Rubert also had a goal. Jack Sapra had an assist, along with Wilson, and Garcia makes 36 of 39 saves. That was the scorecards from Wednesday the 15th.
And then, of course, we fast forward to Friday from last week. Capistrano United and Bellarmine got together for a doubleheader over a couple of days. It was the Bells who took the game on Friday night. They were 4-2 winners over Capistrano United. On the losing side for the Coyotes, Jacob Posner had a couple of assists, goals scored by Luca Sola and Rocky Haymaker. You see Mason Stotts and Coughlin there contributing with an assist apiece. On the winning side for Bellarmine, it was McDonald with a goal and the helper. Nguyen had a goal as well, so did Stewart. Wagner and Naparano had assists to help out there. The winning goaltender, Thompson, you see, stopped 15 of 17. And Grayson Zanke stopped 18 of 22 in a losing effort. And then they got together the very next day on Saturday, and the Bells sweep the season series against the Coyotes, winning both games. This one they win 6-3. Nolan Stewart had a hat trick, and that's one of the reasons why he's going to the All-Star game. Gavin Carrera, a couple of goals for him. Kevin Nguyen had a goal in each of the games over the weekend. Nice showing for him down here in Southern California. On the other side for Capistrano United, Jacob Posner again. A couple of helpers. Luca Sola, Chris Doria, Alex Bussell contributed with a goal apiece. Winning goaltender was Henry Lissner. He stopped 25 of 28. Connor Ivanchik, another All-Star, stopped 26 of 32. A nice showing for him, but it came in a losing effort.
And then this past Wednesday, it was J. Sarah and Capistrano United getting together, and the Capistrano United Coyotes ended up winning this one in a shootout. As you can see on that list, both Height and Michelizzi both had time. Michelizzi was actually given a game penalty. That is why Height came into the game, ended up getting the loss in that shootout. But For the Lions, C.J. Gerard, 2 goals. He's been a fantastic asset for them all season long. Kang had a goal and an assist as well. Sam Mudd, 2 assists. Hill in there as well with an assist. Meanwhile, for the winning Capistrano United Coyotes, it was Joel Stinari with a goal and assist. Usually it's Merrill who's making the big scores, but in this one it was Joel Stinari. Meanwhile, Merrill also had a goal. Posner had a goal as well, and Phillips had an assist. Zenke again had a start. He had 18 out of 21 saves in the winning effort. And then right after that, oh boy, was this a good one. The Pacific Ridge Firebirds took on the Santa Margarita Eagles. The final score was 2-1, Firebirds on top. Ethan Kurt had a goal and an assist. Meanwhile, so did Shoemake. McDonald and Menzel both had assists, and Patrick O'Donnell only had to save 16 out of 17 to earn the win. On the losing side, it was Santa Margarita's Aiden Casey who had a goal. Gregory and Kim both got an assist, and Yamasaki, for his efforts, only let 2 in, but that was a 16 out of 18 performance in the loss.
Last night, in a game over right here at Great Park Ice, 5 Point Arena, it was Santa Margarita taking on Tahoe Prep Academy. It was the first of 3 games on the weekend here in Southern California for Tahoe. They fall short 6-1. The Eagles getting goals from Aiden Casey. You see him there with a goal and 2 assists. Marcus Kim had a goal and assist. Josh Hayden had the same. Daniel Doss and Jacob Kahn had a goal each, and very balanced scoring from Santa Margarita in the big effort. On the other side, you see Bobby Dukov had the lone goal for Tahoe. Bishop with an assist. Noah Chaki-Swede took the loss. Stopped 21-27, and Brandon Yamasaki didn't have to do a ton. He stopped 11-12. He picks up another win, and Santa Margarita creeps their way up the standings. They have clinched at least one of the top 2 seeds along with Orange Lutheran. And those are some of the scorecards from this weekend. There is one other game that took place. It was earlier today over at Anaheim Ice, a game you saw on Black Dog Hockey. Tahoe took on Capistrano United. The Coyotes won that one 4-2, and Tahoe's now down to their final 4 games of the season, one of which will be here later on tonight.
Yeah, it was a fantastic game this morning, and it seemed a lot closer at the beginning, but eventually the wheels kind of came off the bus. But a fantastic game. Going back to last night's game, I think that it was a really cool thing by Aiden Casey. We interviewed him after the game, and I said, what was clicking? He said, my line mates were clicking tonight. That is a team that is ready to go. And then, like you said, we have Tahoe later on tonight. I feel like we should be standing right now. The anthem is playing in the building, and the American flag's right up there. But that being said, it was a fantastic game this morning, and Tahoe's going to be looking for a very important 3 points later on tonight against Pacific Ridge.
I mean, they'd take the 2 points as well. They want to get a win coming out of this weekend. They're losing their first 2, so they don't want to come out of here winless this weekend, but we'll see what they can do later on tonight.
A big thing, we usually are able to highlight Division 2, Division 3, show you the standings. We don't have time in this show today.
We got a big show today.
If you want a chance to check all that out, ADHSHL.com is the place to go. You'll be able to find all the stats, news, and notes. Also follow the league on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're putting a bunch of stats up on that. But the reason we don't have a lot of time in this show to go through all that is because, Eric, we sat down for a roundtable the other day with the Commissioner, Matt Blanchard, and the Deputy Commissioner, Vicky Egger, and I think they've got some pretty cool things to tell us.
Yeah, it was a fun time. We were able to sit down and film this segment for you last night. We had some laughs, and we found out some things that we didn't know about the league. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the first ever Commissioners Roundtable here on the report card. Welcome, everybody, to the first ever ADHSHL Roundtable here on the report card. And sitting down with us today is the Commissioner, Matt Blanchard, and the Deputy Commissioner, Vicky Egger, are with us here today. And let's not waste any time. We're going to get right into this.
You sure you want to waste some time? I'd be happy to waste some time.
You want to waste some time? So it'd be like a
go ahead.
Like a normal
let's go. Let's
day
dig right into it. I mean, I'm not. So you've got questions for us.
That's what I was going to say. First up,
okay.
Full disclosure: they have not seen these questions yet. So Christian and I, we're going to grill them as best we can.
Okay.
So we'll start out. Playoffs right around the corner, of course. We know that there's been emphasis on the regular season the last few years. How soon before we see teams not be allowed to qualify for the postseason?
I think it'll be a while. That's a good question. It's a question we get every year. Every year we've gotten that question, really. And I don't think, with our new playoff structure that we've shown this year, I think there'll be less emphasis on that going forward. The way we structured the playoff brackets this year, we've put a reward for finishing higher in the regular season, you advance farther in the playoff bracket for your first game. So, for example, Division I first and second teams advance all the way to the semifinals. So we've tried to put an emphasis on the regular season, and the reward is a break in the first couple of rounds of the playoffs. That being said, if we did ever do that, we would reformat the playoffs and make it a 1 through 8. And the problem with that is just the number of teams in each division, really, I think. I mean, it fluctuates for us each year to year. So this new format, I'm curious to see how people respond to it. To be perfectly candid, it was a group effort between everybody to come up with the new brackets, and I like them. I think it's going to be interesting.
You talked about rewarding teams for the regular season. We've seen games that are played down in San Diego in the postseason between teams in the San Diego area. Will there be a time where you reward those teams and give them a home playoff game, even if they're not playing a team from down in that area?
I think so, yeah. I think as we grow and we let the teams know that going into it in the season, we will certainly do that. I think this is the first step, is the revised brackets. And once we get that dialed in for the years going forward, I think we will have more true home games. Another big thing that's changing for us in the playoffs this year is the students get in for free with the ID, with a school ID. That's new to us this year, in hopes that we bring more students out to the playoff games. And if that does come about and it warrants a game in San Diego because they've earned that, then we will do that.
Will you send a team to Vegas?
We're always willing for a game in Vegas, so yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, that same thing would apply. That would be a little bit more challenging. There would probably need to be some discussion between the teams, but yeah, I don't see why not. As long as the schedule can accommodate it. I mean, some of the scheduling is tight for the playoffs where it's back-to-back days, so the scheduling may be a little bit tight, but we can try to modify that. Yeah.
How close are teams out of the area to getting a true home schedule? We've seen Bellarmine has it already. We're playing pretty much half and half at home and half down here. How close is the Vegas? How close is the Tahoe, St. Mary's to playing a true home schedule?
Those are a little bit more challenging because we as a league have never asked our teams to go remotely. It's always been an Orange County-based high school league. Teams from San Diego come up, and we've now been able to work where they have half their home games. The remote outlying schools, and credit to Bellarmine, they've worked with the schools to bring those schools from here up there, hand in hand, to get those games up there. And they have other games for the teams that travel up. So there's the management at Bellarmine puts a lot of effort into getting those schools to go up there. If a Tahoe or St. Mary's or teams from Las Vegas put in that effort, I can't see why they wouldn't. But we as a league, at this point, will not force teams to go remotely.
That was my next question. And you answered it already.
Okay.
I think a big question that a lot of fans would have too. We've seen plenty of weekends over the years where some of the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League teams have short benches because clubs are going on or whatever it might be. What is the league's take on that, and is there any kind of change of future in where are we going? How are we going to compete with those club teams but still be able to put on presented hockey at a competitive level?
We've chosen to coexist with the club programs. We don't force our kids to play one or the other. Going back 5-10 years when the league was first around, it was a lot different than it is now. I think this year was the first year somebody told me that kids have missed Kaha weekends to play high school games, or a Kaha weekend game, maybe not the entire weekend, but a game to play a high school game. We leave that up to each individual program. Programs are built as the management of that program wants to. So if the program wants to have 40, 50, 60 games for that high school team, they certainly can, and try to lure the club kids away. I think it's slowly evolving. I mean, obviously we've had the high school age club programs are diminishing. If you look at their scores are a little bit more wide. The final results of the games. I mean, we've probably had a dozen overtime games in the last week and a half. So our games are much more competitive and they're close. So, that's ultimately for the customer to decide.
And one of my favorite questions every single year, and I think it's appropriate as we sit down with you, is as far as teams and schools participating in this league, How many do you see joining in the next year, and even in the next 5 and 10 years? Where is this league headed as far as numbers go?
What do you think, Vicki?
Well, I think we've got at least one on board that I know of, possibly two in the Division I bracket. And I'm not sure, I think we actually have another JV looking at it. So I think right now in the immediate future, there are a few teams coming in. I think I heard a number at some point earlier in the year that 100 would be nice by 20.
It's been proposed to us by the Ducks to get to 100.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
By when?
that's our goal. By when? Certainly won't be next year, but 5, 10 years out there.
I heard 25, I think it was.
Yeah,
2025.
2025.
We want to
Yeah.
have
So we're 5 years
Yeah.
out. So we've been at this 10 years really, and we're at 51. So we'll see where they come in. I mean, we've got, like Vicki said, there's a couple more coming in. So yeah. I mean, I think that's what the number is. I mean, it's a nice round number. It's a nice target.
And the teams that are coming in too, they're not just local to Orange County or even in the state of California. So again, as the league grows and the visibility grows and the skill level grows, you've got a lot of people taking a look and saying, hey, I think we want a piece of this. This looks good for us as well. So I think that's been a really nice kind of forward movement for the league in that.
Eric, get ready for a travel budget, because we're going to have a couple more games to cover, it sounds like.
When you turn that.
So next year is a big year for the league. 10 years of playoff championships being held. What's planned for the league next year that the fans, the players, parents can look forward to?
I don't really want to divulge too much. I mean, yes, the conversation has already started for that. It will be our 10th. Next year will be somewhat of a large year for us. 10th All-Star Game for the league, and 10th championships. So we are planning. I don't want to say ceremonies or anything like that, but there'll be things coming that'll celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the All-Star Game. I'm sure there'll be some sort of update to the record books and all decade something or other coming along. But there is discussions already within the league about that. So more to come on that. That's all I can say at that point.
All right. Play his poker hand that way. We talked about growth and expansion and how many teams are joining this league. We've got teams around the league that are growing as a program and multiplying with the number of teams. That may be district teams. Will district teams ever be broken up and forced to play pure if they have the numbers? And both of you can divulge.
Whoa.
I think
Vicki,
force is a pretty rough word there. I don't know that anybody's forced to do anything, but I think in the interest of Article 19, we should do what's best for the league and best interest of the game. And
a pure school, there's no concern there. The district teams, there are districts that annually come to us and are searching for players because they may not have an area that's a very hockey conducive area. There are districts in our league that have a wealth of talent and numbers of players. So we every year look at that and try to balance that as best we can. It does get evaluated every year. We approach those districts that are short on players and say, where can we help you? We don't really like to do it these days because the district maps have been set for a number of years now, and the student athletes are somewhat accustomed to know where to go. The larger districts with a lot more players tend to be a larger discussion about what's best for both the league, the district, and the student athlete. So those discussions are usually had when the league ended later, it used to be May, but I could see those discussions being had this year in March and April with those district teams.
Christian mentioned earlier, asking you about where you see the league in 5, 10 years or so. 2 players have already been drafted into the National Hockey League that played in this high school league. It could be either one of them or anybody in the future. How soon do you think it'll be regular that players from this league will play at the highest level of hockey?
how long. I think one of those two players will make it to the show probably in a couple of years, maybe 5 years for them. Beyond that, our hope is that our student athletes, get a great education where they're going to school, can play a very competitive level of hockey and move on. Whether that's going to juniors, going to a club college team, whether that's billeting for their senior year someplace else. Our goal is to, we would hope that's an annual thing for us. We want to be able to say, who's going to be the next guy making the walk down the stairs to the NHL draft stage. So our hope is that eventually we'll have a steady stream of that level of talent. Now that's I think an ambitious goal, but if you look at the level of talent in our Division I teams, those games are, people always stop me and say, okay, this is a little bit higher level than I thought it was, and what people think, and that's always somewhat, that's rewarding for the student athletes to enjoy, because they're entertaining us as fans, so it's good to see that the level is where it needs to be.
Considering that the league does get to that point sometime in the future, sometime in the near future, hopefully, a hot topic in high school sports nowadays, especially in this area, is transfers. So if you do get to that point, how do you make sure that the transfers coming into the league, knowing that this is a place that they can come to get to a higher level, to make sure that your divisions remain competitive across the board and not leave maybe the public schools out of getting a transfer that'll come this way?
Well, the league has a transfer rule in place for student athletes. I don't think we're there where CIF would go knock on doors to make sure that there's food in the cupboards and sheets on the bed. So we haven't gotten to that point yet. It's been proposed to myself and Vicky to go, you need to go check on this player and make sure they live there. And we've done some due diligence on certain players, but I think our transfer rule is satisfactory for what it needs to be at the current time. So I think if and when that gets pushed to the limit, we would readdress it at that point, but I think we're good with the transfer the way it is.
Well, Matt, you mentioned earlier that we have colleges and junior teams, and we're hoping that these players, these student athletes, are getting to that level. Obviously, we've installed a director of player development in Mike Perkins with this league, but what steps are being taken to make sure that these kids get recognized by those junior programs, by those colleges?
We put a lot of pressure on Mike to do that. That's Mike's role, is to work with those families, work with those student athletes to understand the procedure to get to the next level, what the forest and then the path through the forest is of the junior levels, because there's a multitude of them. So that's Mike's responsibility. We have the streaming games on Black Dog, Team California. We promote the All-Star Games. I think the big one that we've had now for 3 years is the Vegas Showcase. That's been a really good element for the league to showcase the student athlete. And that grows in popularity with the scouts. We were just in year 3 this past December. And the number of scouts grows every year. And I think next year it'll be even more. Our plan is to really make that the main focus for exposure for the kids, other than the Black Dog and the other avenues that we have here between Mike Perkins and the league.
So you mentioned that everybody should be able to play the game of hockey. If there's somebody who wants to play, there should be a place for them to play. Is there a thought about having a girls division in the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League? Where does this league stand when it comes to trying to embrace that idea of maybe having more female in this league?
We've always, this goes back for a couple of years now. We've always tried to get a female team or a female division. It's always been approached to us. I don't want to say it's a challenge. It's just you need a certain number to make it happen. We've tried it with the Ducks, and we're still going to try it. Our goal is to have a female division in our league, whether that's 2 teams or 4 teams or 6 teams. We would love to see that. We tried to do it with Rosary High School a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and we came up just a few players short. But there are a number of female athletes in our league that play at the varsity level. Santa Margarita's got a top-notch goaltender in theirs, in their team. So we would look at that. It does take a large commitment on everybody's part to be able to almost restart the league as we did in 2008 with Jay Sarah. You're gonna need 20 female families to take a leap of faith and say, okay, let's start a team. So I think we're always selling that and trying to embrace that with the female student athlete, and I think we'll be there in a year or two.
Matt, talk.
Another point of contention, of course, throughout high school sports, and this is what everyone's favorite thing is, officiating, right? The number of officials in high school sports throughout the nation really is diminishing rapidly.
Yep.
We don't seem to terribly have that problem in this league, but of course, after every game, somebody is upset about something, be it a coach, a player, a fan. What steps do you take to rectify maybe a call that went the wrong way, or how do you appease everyone who tries to bring up an issue with officiating?
Well, when it comes to officiating, first of all, you can't appease both sides. The officials are the judge. They'll enforce the rules on the ice, and I think, on a side note, I think we have great officials. I think we've worked to try to get the top officials we can get for our league. We do have a director of officials, our Katana, who we work with and communicate with on a weekly basis. Whether it be scheduling to verify that they're going to be there, reports of incidents that happen during a game we communicate with, rules verifications we communicate with him on, and but to ensure that we get the top officials and the right calls are made, I mean, we communicate with him on and review what we can, assuming we have video, and we try to educate. We try to educate both ways. I'll try to educate. He'll try to educate me on why the call was made. I'll try to probe a question and say, why wasn't a call made here? What was the thinking here? Try to understand it so I can communicate it to our teams when they ask me why was XYZ player penalized with a match penalty for whatever the case may be. So we act then as the conduit between the families and our officials to try to explain to them what happened. No one's ever, as I've learned in this position, you can't please all the people all the time, especially being an official. There are things that once the call is made according to USA Hockey. It can't be changed, and unfortunately, it may be the wrong call, and you may have to just sit your one game and move to the next game.
Is there a protest that can possibly be filed outside of the next thing I'm going to ask you, but as far as gameplay is concerned, is there a protest process or anything like that?
Game misconduct penalties are game misconduct penalties. You've got to sit your game. You can't protest that. Certain penalties are reviewable by CAHA. There is a procedure according to the CAHA rules to do that. You got to pay a certain amount of money to, in essence, pull together a disciplinary hearing on your call, and it's usually the more major penalties, like a match penalty or something like that. But if a goal is called a goal and the game moves on, I can't go retroactively and say that wasn't a goal. I'm going to take it off the scoreboard. The only time that would happen is if a team is used, we deem an ineligible player throughout the game, and then the game would revert to a forfeit. But there's nothing. Just as with the judge, I mean, you can't go back and say, Judge, you were wrong. In most cases, so it's the call is made, we move on.
And the officials do take the time to send us incident reports and really detail what happened and what occurred on the ice in order for them to make the decision they made. So what may seem like a split-second arbitrary ruling, they're going to back it up. They're not going to just say because I said so. And I think it's also difficult to understand, we're in the stands or we've got a different viewpoint. There's some things that may look blatant sitting in the press box, but maybe not so much if you're sitting at the other side of the rink. So we really need to trust that our officials are well trained, which they are, which we know they are, and we also know that there's a process in place for them to review, and they're always doing their own internal reviews and checks to make sure that they're all trying to call things the way they are. Everybody's got the same set.
And they have a split second to make the decision. I mean, I always give the referees the credit that I admire them. I mean, playing the game and being involved in the game for so long. I mean, you realize that that's not You know, the old saying, you got to walk in somebody's shoes to understand what they're going through. Try to put yourself in an official's position where the game goes fast and you've got to make a split-second call. And to their credit, the vast majority of them, I think the vast majority of them are correct.
And we won't overturn misconducts, game misconducts, or anything like that. That's just not going to happen. But there is supplementary discipline reviews. So if a team thinks that that the call maybe wasn't enough, and this was egregious, or this was really more intent than was called, then there is a committee that will, if there's video provided, there is a committee that will look at that video and try to deem that seemed like that was far and beyond a regular hit, or that was really a hit, or that was... So oftentimes that will happen as well. So there is a review process in place. It's not, that's it, that's the end of it. And teams have done that frequently. When they have the video, they will bring it to us and say, hey, would you take a look at this? Would you take a look at, 0.25 seconds in?
Okay.
I want to go back to a point you made during your answer there about player eligibility, and it kind of ties back to what Christian asked about making sure everyone is able to play. If you have a player who wants to transfer to a different school for extenuating circumstances, or anybody's trying to come in and play in the league past the deadline, is there some sort of a petition that can be made to get them onto the ice, and is that something that you deal with on a regular basis?
The infamous petition. Yes, there is. You want to take that one? Or
Sure,
yeah,
I'd
go right
love
ahead.
to take that. The petition process is not, I think there's maybe a little bit of a misunderstanding in general about it. It's not somebody sitting there, such as Matt, who really has nothing to do other than be a facilitator. He gathers together a group of coaches and myself, and each petition is sent in to Matt to ask for specific waivers or considerations against stated rules and articles that we have, I don't know how many of, plenty of. So in fact, if somebody was coming in after a deadline, that would be a petition, out of district petition, not enough games for playoffs for a reason, petitions. So there's petitions everywhere. I think what gets frustrating for people is they don't understand that it is not an individual process. It's not a yes, no, and then out the door. It is a panel of people looking at it and seeing what is in the best interest of the game, what is in the best interest of this team and this player and this league. Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes there's things that aren't going to be disclosed, such as there's a personal hardship. That's between the petitioner and the committee. It's not everybody's business, and sometimes I think the no answer isn't enough, and people want more information. And sometimes the answer really is just no.
Is the committee the same as the rules committee?
No.
That decided on this?
No, the committee. So a petition. The way it usually starts is somebody will call me or email me and say we've got Kid Little, Billy, participate, and the simple answer is according to the rules, no. However, you can, if you feel you're at a hardship where you want a variance in the rules, you can submit a petition. As Vicki said, I just collect the data. I send it off to the group of 5, which is a simple majority, and they by email, and typically, and the chatter goes back and forth. It does get discussed heavily, and the simple majority rules, and I will then facilitate back the answer, yes or no. If it's no, I'll tell them why, and it's it's as simple as that, really. As Vicki said, there are petitions for everything, and they are taken seriously. There are a number of very personal things in those petitions, and we just can't let that out into the public.
Is there an appellate process, or is that just the final decision?
That's the final decision.
Okay.
Yeah. The appellate, the process is that I will tell them what the ruling would be if it happened at this point, and then they can petition it after that. I'll usually tell them no, you can't do that, and then I'll say, however, you can if you feel you can sway the committee, or you can write a good enough brief in your petition to explain why you need that, then the committee will approve it. I mean, the committee comes back with questions. There's some petitions take a day, other petitions take 2 weeks because there's a lot of questions going back and forth. So I don't want to speak for Vicky, but I feel bad for some of the people that don't know what the petition process, what the outcome is, or what the reason for the petition is. But as Vicky said, it's all, the people that review it do it for the best interest of the league and the players.
Now, the entire sport of hockey is really growing in Southern California and the entire West Coast. We're getting another team in Seattle, so the entire West Coast is growing. But high school in general in California is starting to grow. Is this ever going to get CIF regulated? In your opinion, do you think we are heading down that road at some point?
I had the lucky time to sit down with the CIF Southern Section Commissioner before the season started to learn all about CIF, what it takes, what it is, and the answer. And I shared this with the managers at the beginning of the season. I told them I sat down with CIF. The good news is we can become a CIF sport anytime we want to be. The bad news is we can become a CIF sport anytime we want to be. And it was a vast majority of the people agreed that the benefits of being CIF do not outweigh the current position where we currently are. The CIF rules and regulations in place are not conducive to what we have, what kind of product we have here now. Now, that being said, a lot of our schools have put their hockey programs under their athletic department. Some still don't. We leave that up to the schools. And again, we could become a CIF sport next year if we wanted to. There are certain criteria that we have to meet in order to do that, but we would need some of the pure schools to petition CIF together as a league and say this needs to become a CIF sport. What would happen is we would become a CIF sport. We would not have a state championship through CIF, just like lacrosse has up until this time. Now CIF lacrosse is a state CIF championship. We would not have that. There are requirements of a certain amount of hours. You can only do it during the week. There's blackout periods. You can't communicate with your coaches. Can't play club games during the same window. So there are a lot of conflicts between our model and CIF. So the discussion we had with CIF, it actually turns out that his daughter happened to date a hockey player at one of the schools, so he knows about the hockey program really well. We could probably push that if we wanted to. The feedback I got from our schools is we're fine the way we are.
How would it impact district schools?
That would be a problem for CIF.
Yeah. That would be a huge problem for district, and that's a pretty good.
One of the things I will say that we did bring up to, we asked the CIF commissioner, it's varsity letters for the schools. The varsity letters for the schools will come back to us and say, well, our school says it's not a CIF sport, you can't get a varsity letter. The CIF Southern Commissioner assured me that it's not a CIF function, it is a school function to get the letter. So my recommendation would be to those school hockey players that want to get a letter from their school, petition their school a little bit harder, and if they give you that it's a CIF rule, it's not a CIF rule.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Lobby your
Very
ADs.
Lobby your schools, yeah, I mean, we learned that firsthand, yeah.
Well, thank you both for your time here today. Commissioner Matt Blanchard, Deputy Commissioner Vicky Egger, thanks for stopping by. It's been fun. We should do this again.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
Certainly want to thank the Commissioner Matt Blanchard and the Deputy Commissioner Vicky Egger for their time in that roundtable. And Christian, a couple of the points I took away were actually somewhat toward the end of that clip when they were talking about the petition process, which is a highly disputed topic amongst the league. And the second one, of course, was that last comment about joining CIF and how it doesn't seem to be the right fit for the current time.
Yeah, I think that the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League has proven that you can independently run a high school sports league, and it doesn't have to be CIF. Now, will it eventually become CIF? Who knows, right? As Matt Blanchard said, it could happen at any time. But right now, it kind of seems like the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League, including the LA Kings High School Hockey League, we've kind of got things set. High schools that can participate are. But as they said, if we went CIF with this sport, all these district teams, that becomes a very big problem. The Capistrano Uniteds, the La Jolla Country Days, anybody who's really come together, you lose some of that. And so I think that's why this is great for what we have right now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So that was it for our first ever roundtable. Hopefully we'll be able to do it sometime soon in the near future. But right now, it's time to unveil the All-Star teams. All the players know who's going to the All-Star game, but they don't know who their teammates are. They don't know who their opponents are going to be. Christian, let's start with the Junior Varsity All-Star game.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. Now, we're also revealing the team names, right, Eric?
Yes, we are.
And the Junior Varsity team names are going to be Team Carroll and Team Wood. Obviously, in direct correlation with the play-by-play and color broadcasters of the Anaheim Ducks on AM 830 for, I believe, the entire time. It's felt like they've been there forever, but the first one's going to be Team Carroll, completely based off of Steve Carroll, and he's been a guest on this show, and now we're finally naming a team after him.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at some of the representatives here: Duke Hoey, Dylan Yankoskis, and the list right there in front of you. Emma LaHulier from La Jolla Country Day. She's the only female that was selected to play in all the All-Star games, so congratulations to her. And you look at the list there, and the JV is going to start off the night, as it always does. It's the 8th annual Junior Varsity All-Star Game, and that'll be at 4 p.m. And here, go ahead and take a look at the defensemen.
Yeah, if you take a look at the defensemen, it's Soren Schilling. You've got Jake Heimeister, Owen Holder, Jackson Duncan, Finn Louie. Obviously, a bunch of fantastic options as well, Eric. This team is going to be a good team for this JV tournament, or JV game, rather.
Yeah, absolutely. Owen Holder, one to look out there for the defensemen. And now look at the goaltenders.
Yeah, Matt Daria, Clayton Height, and Emilio Rodriguez, 3 fantastic goaltenders who we've seen Height at least at the varsity level as well, so he's bounced around. He's got some experience in the varsity divisions, but he's going to be one of the JV goaltender all-stars this season. Congratulations to all 3 of them.
Let's take a look at Team Wood now, of course, after AM 830 KLAA's Dan Wood. You got Michael Dorfman there to lead things off for Newport Mesa, Matt Reith, Ryan Pugh, Maxwell Mader. You see Jude Spradlin, Evan Lang, Sahil Dubé, Rex Maloney, and Jonathan Radcliffe are the forwards for Team Wood. Moving on to the defensemen, Blake G, Itero Kozarovitsky, Donovan Felton, in there as well, Kyle Kim and Aiden Yim to round out the 5 defensemen. JV only has 5 defensemen. When you get to the varsity, they'll have 6 each. And your goaltenders, you see from Central Cathedral, Pacific Ridge, and San Diego Union. Team Wood has all goaltenders from the San Diego area. Edward Burkeen, Quinn Klaber, Jack Brown. Quinn Klaber, as a matter of fact, playing on the ice right behind us right now in Pacific Ridge's JV game against Bishop Amat. And those are your junior varsity all-stars.
Eric, I think it's going to be a really exciting JV game. We've seen exciting JV games in the past. This one's not going to be any different.
No, it's going to be a lot of fun. We don't get to see the JV a lot, right? Of course, we have a lot of varsity Division I coverage on our networks. But getting to showcase the JV kids, they're going to be the varsity soon. So we might as well get to know them now.
Yeah, there's some names you need to start learning how to pronunciate on that one, too.
I was getting there.
Especially in that defenseman class on the Wood side. Oh, my gosh. But we're really excited about that. It's going to be a great game.
It is going to be a great game. And our second game of the night at 6 p.m. is going to be the 9th annual Varsity All-Star Game. You take a look at the forwards there, and first and foremost, the team names. It's Team French, named after Kent French, of course, from Fox Sports with the Anaheim Ducks. You know him. He hosts Ducks Live. He hosts Ducks Weekly. He does a lot of ringside reporting for them.
Does everything.
Yes, he does. He gets the namesake, and you take a look at the forwards there, and this is a loaded Team French on the forwards. Once Kent finds out, he should be pretty pleased. Sam Mudd, Graydon Pond in there, Rocky Haymaker, of course, Thomas Stift. There is a lot of firepower on this team, and they're going to put a lot of goals in on those poor goaltenders from the other side.
We'll talk about those goaltenders in a second. Look at the defensemen for that team as well.
Atanasio.
I always mess that one up. I am so sorry, Joey. Jackson Piatek is going to be in there. Jack Sapper, who we've seen multiple times for that Damien team. Fontana, Platt, and Fronti as well. It's going to be a good defensive team, too.
Whoever's coaching this team, and we don't know yet, coaches have not been announced, but I really hope Grafton Platt and Alex Fronte get to be on the same defensive pairing. That should be fun.
Oh, yes. Santa Margarita, Jay Serra. Mm-hmm.
Take a look at the goaltenders here for Beach City's Ricardo Arianes, Anthony Viduro, and Brandon Yamasaki, who we know from Division I gets a lot of time there, but a couple of lower division varsity players for Team French.
And the team that they're going to be playing, Eric, is the Team Hewlett, named after a longtime public address announcer for the Anaheim Ducks, one of my personal mentors, Phil Hewlett. We're really excited to get a team named after him as well. Take a look at the forwards. Luke Hartmark, Jackson Hebert, Augustine's on that list.
Hudson Lamatau.
We really should have gone through this. It's on me. I'm going to be honest, 100%. Chase Sechrist, Nick Stevens, Hickman's on that list. Daria's on that list. Stewart, who's had a whale of a couple of games for Bellarmine in the past week. Merrill Stinari, one of the league scorers for the varsity divisions. Bradford, Hayden, also one of those ones as well.
You're going to see Caden Bradford has a little star next to his name. Unfortunately, he's going to be unable to play due to injury, but he was selected, and we wanted to make sure that we honored him and that he was recognized properly.
Meanwhile, Eric, for the defensemen on that one, Alton, Wagner, Tabrizi, Dauphin, Renton, and Smith, a fantastic team that's going to go against a fantastic French team as well.
Yeah, if they have Renton and Smith back there as a pairing, nobody's getting by those two guys. I'm going to tell you that right now. And you have Tabrizi, you have Wagner, Keelan Alton, one of my sleepers here from North County. He's very deserving of this selection. Keep an eye out for him in that middle All-Star game.
Two of the best goaltenders, actually I would say three of the best goaltenders in the varsity division. Also on this team, Caleb Martinez from Orange Lutheran, Stephen Feitzer from Modern Day, and of course Louis Garcia from Damien.
Yeah, Stephen Fitzer is another one who's very underrated. He's gotten selected twice now. He made it last year as well for the Monarchs, and he represents them very well and has for the last couple of years. So you look at this varsity All-Star game, and this is usually the game that is the most competitive because, of course, the senior game, you have to be a senior.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean you're among the best. You're among the best seniors, which kind of limits the group a little bit. It's just by a happenstance of numbers that the varsity game is usually the one to watch.
It's always a fun game, and this year it's going to be action-packed in this one. Now, there are a couple of names, Eric, where I'm like, man, this is a varsity all-star game. Where are these guys? They're going to be in the senior game. And let's take a look at the senior rosters right now. The first one is going to be Team Allers, named after John Allers, play-by-play for Fox Sports Prime Ticket for the Anaheim Ducks. And you can see the list right here. Travis Ball, Alex Osborne, Preston Patz, Rusty Grandolph, Tristan Toth, Scott Hommel, Jackson Ferry from Orange Lutheran, Alex Ha from Irvine United. Bozanich makes the list from Edison, Fleming, Kurt, and Lang. A fantastic forward squad for Team Allers.
There's a lot of different combinations that can be played around with, and we talk about the senior game and how fun it is. This is the chance to honor all the players that put in all the time at their schools. A lot of them played 4 years. A lot of them haven't played 4 years, but they're stuck around in the program through their final high school days. So a real chance to honor all these seniors in the league.
Take a look at the defensemen for Team Allers. Chris Smales from Bellarmine, Nathan Hill from J. Sarah, Noag from St. John Bosco, Axel Karlberg from Santa Margarita, Daniel Parizic from Pacific Ridge, and Ian McGrath from Poway. Meanwhile, taking a look at the goaltenders. All right, I'm going to need some help here, Eric. I'm going to be honest.
I got you. Danny Tassageorgios from Beckman, Sean Keogh from St. Mary's, and, of course, Patrick O'Donnell from Pacific Ridge. You got three good backstops there. Keogh hasn't played a ton of games so far this year, one of the few seniors nominated as far as a goaltender is concerned. But he's one to watch because he can get the job done when he's in between the pipes.
Yeah, the only St. Mary's representative coming to the All-Star game. Excited to see somebody from the Stockton area coming down for this one. And Eric, the other team that we're going to be talking about.
Now, do we think we really need to tell everybody who the next one is? Because I think they figured it out.
If you haven't already, it's going to come up on your screen right now. But Eric, tell them about it.
Yeah, it's Team Hayward, of course, named after Ducks color analyst Brian Hayward from Fox Sports Prime Ticket. Of course, our theme this year was really about the broadcasters and the media that cover the Ducks and make the game exciting for you to watch at home or even in person in Phil Hewlett's case. So named after the broadcast media this year, and Team Hayward gets the final nod. You look at the forwards there, David Nguyen, who is, and this is great, he's a 5-time selection into the All-Star game.
Wow.
He actually made it as an 8th grader when that rule was still in place and made it all 5 years. He's played for the Bells. Jacob Posner, Travis Crane, Ethan Hurst. Again, you see another asterisk there. Stephen Bedard from Edison out due to injury, but wanted to make sure we got his name in there. And then Elijah O'Neill, Austin De Los Reyes, Axel Koskela, Weston DeLugos from Carlsbad United, Ian Bowman, Noah Smedjkal from Vegas, and C.J. Gerard, Corey Gerard Jr. there for J. Sarah. Really tough forward group there. And now you look at the defensemen, and this is a very San Diego-heavy defenseman lineup with Chua, Hovland, Luigi, and more. And then joined by Stinari and Laird. Stinari and Laird, probably two of the better defensemen here in Orange County. And they get to team up with the guys from down south, and they're going to be tough to get by.
It's going to be a fantastic game. I was looking at the forwards roster when we first looked at this. I'm going, who's Corey Gerard? We always refer to him as CJ Gerard. That's what he is on the rosters and everything. But a fantastic defensive lineup, and these goaltenders are no one to mess around with either, Eric.
No, a nice balance of offense and goaltending when you look at these two teams going head-to-head. That Team Mahlers has a lot of great forwards that can put the puck in the net. There's a lot of great backstops on this team. You see Connor Ivanchik, Evan Pollock, and Greg Godfrey. Pollock under the radar for Corona Norco. They've always been known for their offense and how quickly they can score. This year it's been different for them. It's been a bit of a rough patch, but Pollock has shined once again. Very deserving, and Edison's, they've been great the last few years, and Greg Godfrey's a big reason why. So there's your senior goaltenders, and now you know who's playing who and who's going to be on the same team in the 9th annual Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League All-Star Games. Again, February 6th, right here at 5 Point Arena. The JV game is at 4, the varsity game is at 6, and the senior game is at 8. And one more thing to note, the skills competitions are going to happen once again. And we're going to make this real simple for everybody at home. All of your fastest skater competitors are all of the forwards in all of the games.
Tough.
We're going to divide it that way.
Tough to remember. I think we can get that. Yeah.
And the shooting accuracy competitors will be everybody that is a defenseman and everybody that is a goaltender.
Yes.
And this is not your granddad's shooting accuracy competition, okay? This thing has been spiced up a little bit. We're not going to get into the details here.
Ooh.
You're going to have to watch on youtube.com/ADHSHL, where the games will be live and for free on February the 6th, or you're going to have to come here in person to watch it yourself. But it's something different than what we've done in the past.
If you get a chance, folks, come out and watch it. The skills competitions are just as exciting as some of the games are. The fastest skater one, that one's always gets me like, oh my gosh, it's coming down to the wire. And while I love the fact that we're doing all the broadcasts do not do justice on how exciting that is in rink with people getting excited. It's something really cool to watch. But like Eric said, for the first time ever, this thing's going to be free on YouTube. We're really excited about that. Just like we did the free preview for the Black Dog games earlier this season, we're going to have free broadcast for the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League All-Star Games here in 2020. I wonder whose idea that was.
I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Also, a couple things of note for that skills competition, too. The goalies are going to love us because they're not being forced to skate in their pads and do a lap anymore, and they get to actually shoot the puck. And the second thing is, don't forget the skills competitions will take place between the first and second periods and the second and third periods. So both intermissions are when the skills competitions take place. It's
going to be a fantastic event. We hope you can join us for that. While you're here on youtube.com/ADHSHL, hit the subscribe button and also grab that notifications bell so you know exactly when we are going live for those games. We're probably going to do a little bit of pregame coverage. We'll definitely do a lot of things in game. We're going to have all hands on deck. Anybody that you've really heard for the majority of our games is going to be here. We're going to be doing something. We're really excited for an exciting broadcast on February 6th.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time, and I'm really looking forward to it. Also, keep an eye out next week. The All-Star coaches are going to be revealed as well.
Ooh, big news still to come. That's basically going to do it for our episode of the Report Card. This has been obviously a All-Star Games edition of the Report Card. We hope you can join us either here in person at 5 Point Arena at Great Park Ice or on youtube.com/ADHSHL for the 2020 Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League All-Star Games. Eric, thanks again for joining us here on the set. We also want to say a big thank you to the commissioner, Matt Blanchard, our technical director for the day, because Austin Mader decided not to be here. Sorry, no, he's here. He's just working on other things that he actually has to do. But I wanted to throw him under a bus, so
it's fun.
There you go. But we are really excited for an amazing show, and we hope you guys can join us on February 6th, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 8 o'clock. It's going to be JV, varsity, and then seniors. Yes. Okay, good. I wanted to make sure I had everything corrected, but we want to say a big thank you to Andy Dickerson and everyone at Black Dog Hockey for letting us use their equipment. A reminder, we have another game coming up at 6 o'clock today. Tahoe's taking on Pacific Ridge.
Yeah, 5:50.
5:50, not 6 o'clock.
We're pressing ourselves now.
don't know why I said 6 o'clock. Must have had it wrong on the
No, you didn't have it
schedule.
wrong. It's been adjusted.
Oh, we got awesome, lovely. Well, it'll be Eric and I for that game. So we're really excited for that. Thanks for letting me know that.
Hey, no problem. 10 less minutes to get ready. It'll be a good time.
Where else to find out except on set on a live show? Thank you so much for joining us today, folks, on youtube.com/ADHSHL for this episode of The Report Card. We'll see you next time, everybody, and we'll see you on February 6th for the All-Star Games. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you at 5:50.